Welcome to the Gaelan Trombley Show. You can find me on Facebook at Gaelan Trombley, on Instagram at Gaelan Trombley, and on YouTube at Gaelan Trombley. Spelling Gaelan Trombley. Enjoy the show. On episode 35 of the Gaelan Trombley Show, I have Heath Andre in studio. He is the founder of Chalked Barbell. We talked basically how he got that started and a lot of his other day-to-day work, and this guy is a workhorse and he's doing some very cool things in the area, and I think you guys will get a lot out of his mindset and where he hopes that this brand will take our local community and maybe even grow outside of it. So I hope you guys enjoy episode 35 of the Gaelan Trombley Show. Welcome to the Gaelan Trombley Show. Welcome to episode 35 of the Gaelan Trombley Show. I am here with Heath Andre. I actually just kind of heard about you recently, and I knew of you, and then I heard of you, and then I kind of heard a little bit of your backstory, and that's why I reached out to you, which was kind of funny because we'll probably talk about this later in the podcast. I just did Slop Dog Radio with Ryan Gwinup, and you were on the show also, and he was wearing one of your t-shirts. We started kind of talking, and he kind of gave me a little background on you, and I'm like, okay, I kind of want to talk to this guy. I think we have a lot of similarities, and I usually don't like to have stuff sit too long, so I'm like, I'm just going to DM him right now and see if he'll get on. I had no intention of doing it like a day or two later. I kind of had messaged you thinking maybe in a few weeks we get together, and then you're like, I can't do later this week, but I can probably make early. I'm like, okay, well, let's do it. All right, so I figured if we can just get down on the books now and kind of get it going, then we're better off for it. So Heath, I appreciate you coming on. Welcome.
Yeah, awesome, man. Thank you for having me.
And this is your fourth podcast?
Fourth podcast, third host. That makes sense. You are the third.
That makes sense. So you were on... Tell them the ones you were on.
Yep. So I was on, my first one was with Ryan Gwinup of Slop Dog Radio. Then second one was with Ryan on Slop Dog Radio. And the third was with Matt Craig on Craigcast. And
me and Ryan go very deep into how Matt Craig steals guests. So I'm just joining that sentiment. So you're making your rounds, which is good. But I'm sure we'll get into kind of the main thing as to why I wanted to bring you on, but I think as with anybody, I like to have some background so people can know. And obviously, I don't know you that well, so you just did kind of a little mini background, so I'll probably have you elaborate a little bit on that for everybody listening, and then we'll kind of, I think, go into a lot of cool stuff today. So Heath, just kind of tell people where you're from and how you got here and what you're up to.
Yeah, definitely. Born and raised Saranac, New York. Big old Clinton County here, boy. Graduated from Saranac 2012. Short time at Clinton Community College, a couple of years there. Been working for the same local business for about 6 years now, and recently started a couple of companies of my own. A year ago, a sanitation company, and just about 5-6 months ago, a t-shirt company. So
obviously going out, you talked about before, you went in, you got a business degree, which I think's a smart degree to get some background in, because I think it's so universal. Then you went into, and I know we're kind of jumping over a few things here. You talked about doing automotive detailing. You talked about, then you went into, I might have the timelines a little bit mixed up here, but then you went into corrections for a time period, found out that wasn't for you. Started the garbage company after corrections?
While I was in corrections, yes. And then I purchased another local garbage company and expanded it once I was out. Okay.
And then started the current company, the t-shirt company you have called Chalked Barbell?
Yep.
Okay, and you said that was been going for how many months?
This is officially month 6.
Okay, so very new.
Very new, very green to this, yes.
Okay, so the one thing I'll say, which is kind of weird because I've seen your stuff, didn't know who you were. I didn't really know much about the company. I just knew some local guy had started it. And I think part of me it's funny because we started putting out T-shirts, which I don't know if you've seen before, but I gave you them before this started. So we're kind of, I'm not in the apparel business. I mean, we made a T-shirt for our company, but we've been able to kind of make a lot of headway with that company in about 6 months. We started in December. Like the logo and everything else came out right before Christmas. And I think the first shirt that we had available for people was right before Christmas. So we're looking at just under 6 months. So we're about the same timeline. The one thing that I think you do very well at, and again, something I really find a lot of value in, and I try to put a lot of time and effort into it because I think it's important, is the marketing of it and the branding of it. And I would say I've seen a lot of people wearing it and sporting it, which we are the exact same. I take a lot of pictures of a lot of people with the shirt, and I post it on social media. So kind of that's what I'm more curious by, and a little bit of the garbage company too, because they're both. I love young people that are taking risks in the business field and kind of working for themselves and trying to make a living and grinding it out, because I'm sure you're going to touch on this, but it's not easy. There's a lot of risk. There's a lot of financial strain. There's a lot of, kind of doubt. There's a lot of naysayers. There's a lot of stuff that you're probably up against. And I think I'm assuming in order to kind of do what you're doing now, you do have a pretty thick skin, and I think a little bit of a chip on your shoulder in a good way, meaning you're probably self-motivated. But tell everybody kind of why did you decide to make a T-shirt or an apparel line? It's a very saturated market, obviously, especially from a gym perspective. So I'm sure you're running up against a lot of that, but kind of go in, why did you start the business? And yeah, I mean, anything you can kind of talk about on that, because I'm sure you've learned quite a bit in 6 months.
Yeah, definitely have. A lot of struggles for sure in the last 6 months. Good struggles though, everyone goes through it. So it's funny, now that you say it, it was around Christmas time when we drew up the original logo, which is the handprint with the CB in the middle of it. So it's going to sound a little cliche. I'm sitting on the couch. Okay. I have the garbage business. I've got the 9-to-5, which I still currently have both, but this is just before Christmas. And I get really deep into, I'm a big Gary Vaynerchuk guy, a little bit of Grant Cardone. He's a little aggressive for me, but a big guy with Gary and doing something you want to do. I'm a power lifter, only competing once or twice a year right now, but I was big into it. I love the sport. I love the community around it. I've got 40, 50 close friends just in this area from it. I've built those relationships through that. And one thing, with a lot of us in town and a lot of powerlifters in general, male, female, CrossFitters even, is it takes a serious level of fitness to get to the top, like any other sport, right? So I'm like, I want to build something, whether it be a community, a brand. T-shirts are just the vehicle, right? T-shirts were an easy vehicle to express what I wanted to say and how I wanted people to feel. A chalked barbell, you leave it all in the gym. It doesn't matter if you're deadlifting 100 pounds, 500 pounds, 1,000 pounds. Every single person that wears a chalked barbell T-shirt or physically chalks a bar and will lift it, squat it, bench it, has something to prove to themselves, to their family. And that's where I came up with a name. And I wanted to express that before I had the name, but I'm like, how can I make people feel good and have something that looks kind of cool? It was more about making people feel good about what they're accomplishing. Because you can train 6 months, 8 months for a powerlifting meet and maybe only add 10 pounds, 15 pounds to your total. You just killed yourself for 8 months of the year to break that little PR. And that's where we kind of copped the proof of the PR is, most PRs that are broken in CrossFit, strongman, powerlifting are done with chalk. So that's why we wanted to put the chalk being the proof of the PR. And it all kind of molded together. And now we are, the brand started as that. Now I just want to hear from people, hear their stories of what lifting has done for them. I'm not sure if you power lift or how you are into fitness, but
yeah, I mean, I was more into fitness before, not in a bad, in the sense that my life's just gotten more chaotic and I haven't been able to prioritize it as much as I did and should. I've always gone to to be honest, I've never been to a gym besides a CrossFit gym, and I started going in 2000. I started kind of dabbling in weightlifting and any kind of lifting. We never did it in high school. Probably 2009, 10, like that. Got into CrossFit probably 2000, started 2012. Been doing it ever since. But a lot of what you're saying, I know the powerlifting movements. Obviously, I'm not as strong as someone that just does all the powerlifting movements, but I had a pretty good baseline of strength at one point. You kind of joked when you brought your shirts in, a large or XL. I'm definitely a large right now, maybe even flirting with a medium, but I was, a little bigger and stronger at one point. But I think I have like so many things I want to ask you right now. So the first thing I want to ask you, because I think there's a parallel between what you're doing and you right now are starting a company, you're starting a brand, you're starting kind of a movement around this idea that you had. I liken my business and the real estate company that I'm hoping to build with kind of the same principles and same different. Obviously, you're doing it through apparel. I'm doing it through a real estate company, but I think there's a lot of parallels and a lot of similarities to both of our approaches. You mentioned Gary Vee. We'll talk about him because I'm very big on him and what he stands behind and his how he carries himself. First off, the question is, why did you do it? Like, why did you start the apparel brand? Or not even the apparel brand, but just the idea of Chalk Barbell. So I want to know why you started it, how you came up with the logo. If you did, whose hand is that? If it was actually
mine.
Is it actually your hand?
Legit, yeah.
Okay, so that answered one question. So why'd you come up with the company? Why'd you come up with the name? You kind of just touched on it a little bit. I guess I should say, who came up with the name? Was it you? Did you collaborate on it? And I guess between those two, like the vision and message behind it, because you just talked about, I think what you have, it's not just t-shirts. The t-shirt, like you said, is the vehicle.
Yep.
There's a bigger meaning behind it. And so kind of why you started, how you came up with the name. You just talked about it, and then where you envision the company going on a grander scale, more so than t-shirts. So kind of like your big vision of why you're doing it.
Sure. So yeah, we'll try to elaborate on the why without making it too long-winded. And this is, I'm sorry, I'm going to bleed into the garbage a little bit.
Yeah.
The garbage business.
Go ahead.
So as bad as this sounds, the garbage business is just like their bread and butter. It's like a moneymaker. I mean, you're picking up garbage. There's pretty cut and dry. You pick up the garbage, you get paid, it's done. That's good. You need money to pay your bills. Everyone does. But once I started following Gary more, I really, got into the making a difference in people's lives. It's not all about money. You need money to do things, but I did the garbage. I still work a 9 to 5. I usually work between 60 and 70 hours a week. So I'm like, between everything, I'm like, okay, I make enough money. Now I want to build something that's more than just money, which is why I came up with this brand, because of me being a powerlifter. Like, I had a really bad and this is going to be like not a sob story, but I had a really bad motocross accident. I used to race dirt bikes, completely tore my shoulder apart, blew everything apart in it when I was 16 years old, was really stubborn, liked to play sports, didn't get a surgery till I was 18. Okay. So going to college, get the surgery that summer. Doctor says, you will never bench press. You will never squat again. Over 100 pounds. Like, you will never be able to do that. You lost 15% of motion in your arm. I don't care how much physical therapy you do. You will never get back to being strong. Like, I was never strong. Like, in high school, I was never strong. In college, I was never strong. But 20, I picked up weights for the first time. And 25 now, right? So it was about a 5-year journey. By the time this brand came up, I'm like, this has been the one constant that I've never, ever wanted to go away from in my life, because it's you never stop growing. And that's how I feel about why I started Chalked Barbell. Is someone can go in with no experience, and it doesn't even have to be powerlifting. It could just be the gym in general. And through enough motivation and, good techniques and following the right people and talking to the right people, become so much stronger than anyone ever thought they could have been, emotionally and physically. And I am a product of it. Not 100% due to fitness. A little bit was the chip on my shoulder. Like you said, the doctor says you can't do this. I'm like, I'm going to go do this. That's really the why. It was to, when you see the young kid 17, 18 years old in the gym for the first time, intimidated. Some of the gyms in town are intimidating, I feel, and giving them a voice, someone to look up to. I'm not the strongest guy in the world. I have a little bit of experience, but I'm nowhere near the strongest guy in the world, but I do go every day. Except one day a week, you got to rest. But I go to the gym every day, and that's the one constant that's been in my life. And that's why I try my best. My girlfriend, or my fiance, now I have to say fiance, love her to death. She's awesome. We try to go every day, and we try to post. That is why I think it took off kind of fast, is because consistency is a big thing. It's not about, and I made this mistake already in the past couple months. I made a mistake of trying to really like shove it a little too fast, too much too quick, and I was getting ready to burn out. And I'm like, you know what, man, this is not what this is about. Like this is to help people better themselves. That was the why when we started it before Christmas. That's really going to become the why in the next 6 months, and that's where I want to. I don't even mind getting away. I don't care if I sell a single t-shirt. I would rather give away every t-shirt if every single person can join this community and feel better about themselves. And it's not a monetized thing. And I think that's where I was starting to go wrong. I was like, okay, we're selling shirts. Well, no, the why when you started this, guy 3 months ago had nothing to do with selling anything. You'd only just put the shirts up so someone could wear something. That's where we're trying to go. I'd like to, if for the future, be awesome to have a community of chalked barbell lifters. Mm-hmm. Be it, if you run on a treadmill, you can be a chalked barbell lifter. I don't care. Mm-hmm. As long as you hit it every day and you hit it hard, that's what it's all about. And I guess that's where the why really came from.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I even, what you said message wise, again, I was big in the gym at one point. I still try to go. I was there at 5:30 this morning. Like, it sucks, but you get up and you do the thing. But at the same token, I think it comes from, like you said, a community. It comes from working hard. It comes from, putting in the work to get the output that you want, meaning you don't just show up and it happens. Mm-hmm. And I think that, I'm very passionate about what I do within these walls and out in the community and stuff about the company. But same thing when you talk about a bigger vision, like I like what I do, but I like helping people. And I also want to hopefully be part of the young community that can take Plattsburgh where it is now and make it better. Because at the end of the day, you always want to try to build off the success of prior generations and hopefully leave it better for future generations to take the baton and kind of run with it. I really think there's a good community of young people around here. And my big goal is hopefully that we can, all work together to make it better. And I think what you're doing it's going to start hopefully as just a gym thing, but then you said grow and grow, and it might not be. I look at that now and I'm like, there's parallel between that and what I'm doing here, even though it's not, I'm not putting chalk on to write an offer or
Sure.
go show a house, but it's the mindset that I think that overcomes. And what I think is cool when you post a lot of the pictures, some people I know, some people I don't, but there's a theme to it. And it's people getting after it, whether it's in the gym or whatever. And there's, I've seen different sizes, different shapes, different ages, and everybody's wearing it. And there's a lot of people wearing your stuff right now. So I don't know how many people actually have a chalk barbell T-shirt. I'm definitely will rep it. People will probably, hopefully it doesn't take down the brand a little bit and look at me like, who's this pipsqueak? But I like what it stands for. So, kind of, you talked about making a little bit of a jump because you obviously have the normal day-to-day job, but you got out of the kind of the corrections job, I would say the safe job, meaning benefits and retirement and things like that, to go into, again, you like you said, you have a vehicle right now to give you money to put into your passion on the side, which we talked about, Gary, the side hustle thing. Mm-hmm. But kind of talk about it, the playing it safe versus maybe the taking chances or doing the uncomfortable.
Yeah. So this is a tough one for me because I don't even know if I should go into this, but I'm going to. Okay. I made some poor financial decisions when I was 21, 22, 23, just getting stuff too flashy early. I've never told, anyone this before, but I did. And now I'm really comfortable talking about this because I really hope this helps everybody. the flash and the class and, trying to have it all at a young age and be all fancy, not that I didn't pay for it myself, but I really would be a lot further ahead now if I wouldn't have done those things, have to, not saying I don't like nice things, but you don't always need the big jacked up, lifted, brand new trucks and stuff. Like I have new trucks now for my business, but it's a totally different thing. And I made some poor financial decisions, in the beginning. And I would say those were risks that had no reward. But I think it also primed me for when I had to spend a decent chunk of money in a smart way. It wasn't such a risk because I was like, well, quick story, bought a crotch rocket, one of those machines, R6 Yamaha, those zing zing things. It was all cool. It was fast. I was like, yeah, went all the way down to Albany, bought it, spent a good amount of money on it, bring it back home, rode it 2 miles to my friend's house to show it off, be like, yeah, man, I'm cool. And it's tick, 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 tick. And I didn't know much about him at the time, and bring it down to the local dealership. And they're like, yeah, you have this problem with it. And I was like, oh, okay. What is it to fix it? And then my jaw dropped. I was like, really? I just paid a lot of money for this thing. I thought it was nice. They're like, no, it's a piece of junk. And I'm like, are you kidding me? They're like, well, it's a nice bike, but you got to fix it for this, right? So I knew this kid through work, and I'm like, hey, I'll sell you this machine. Well, that was a $2,500 mistake in a day, just, to put it lightly. And when you're young and don't have any money, that's a big mistake now. I wouldn't want to make that mistake now, but I'd already lost that, burned it, throw a match to it, lost it. So now I will say that made me more comfortable to take steps in the right directions where I'm like, okay, if I can take this risk with this amount of money and it can produce this amount of return, even if that return takes 12 months to get, okay, it's worth it. Where back then it was just I was literally spending money not even knowing what I was doing. It was just to get a material thing that had no, I didn't know, I mean, you could see numbers, numbers,
yeah.
You must work with numbers every day. I'm the same way. I work with numbers every day now.
If you look over there,
you have numbers
I'm
around,
like a statistician. Yeah.
360 in here. But, so I would say from a standpoint of taking risks, I learned at a young age, or I took risks at a young age, not knowing they were risks, if that makes sense. So now I try to strategically spend, and don't get me wrong, I have big goals, big dreams for nice things one day, but definitely looking at something to buy or to invest in is way easier now when I can really control the outcome for the most part, as long as I put in the work. And that's a big thing. Just put in the work. It's better to show up every day and give 50% than to not show up and give zero altogether, just put it in every single day, because everyone has off days, No, I mean, you kind of talked about it being young and dumb. Kids do that, you know what I mean? And I think I was lucky enough at a young age, I think because I was kind of probably a little older than I acted older than I was. And, I really knew that, I was the kid that stayed at Plattsburgh, stayed at home, not to go into college debt. I'm like, what 18, 19-year-old thinks of that? I don't know. It was kind of weird. But I kind of look at it now that, the only thing that I think I missed out was maybe making a few friends in college. But at the end of the day, I made a ton of friends from 22 to now and keep going. So I don't really have a lot of regrets in that, to be honest. But I think what you talked about now is being a little smarter with your money, meaning, and this is something I do too. I don't take a lot out of the business. I to be honest, the amount of money that I actually pull out of the business versus probably what I earn out of the business is quite shocking. I put a lot of money back in. Mm-hmm. The way I do it now and the way I look at it now is that I have enough money out that I can live, and I can live, comfortably, and I'm not super stressed about money. But at the same token, all my free money is not going to toys and things like that I can dump in. It's how can I reinvest? I'm buying shirts. I'm buying other stuff. I'm buying stuff for here. I'm buying marketing stuff. I'm buying shotgun mics for videos. I'm buying all this. I'm buying podcast equipment. I'm buying, investing back into myself in the company, because my idea is if I can pull out X amount now, why can't I put in, half of that and make 10X in a couple of years?
And that's kind of my mindset going in is I'm very much, and I think you might be, I think you're now probably like this. Probably wasn't the same 4 or 5 years ago based on your story, but I'm very big on like delayed gratification, and I've always been that way, meaning I'm always okay with, I'll wait for the prize down the road, meaning I don't want to not enjoy life, but at the same token, I'm calculated like you are, meaning if I can do something now, which seems fun, I look at what's the payout, or what's not the payout, but what's the outcome if I invest that amount of money or time or whatever into that. Could I turn and make it more positive or get more out on the back end, which you most of the time will be able to. The hard part is when it's dangled in front of you. Most people want that easy, quick gratification. Sounds like you did that, but it sounds like now that you're a little bit like talking about investing in this company is definitely delayed gratification, because you just talked about it. You're not making a killing, which is to be expected, and I think Gary's the one that talks about that. But from that, I mean, where do you get that from? Is that true for you now?
100%. I honestly, like, as weird as it sounds, like my dad and mom, my parents taught me this. I mean, I started working, I think, at 14, when you could legally get the papers. I might have worked under the table at 13 years old, but 14 years old, I was washing dishes after school. You know what I mean? Literally. Go to basketball practice, go and wash dishes because they were open till 10, that kind of stuff. So like, I knew, like, they never bought me anything. So I think that was a blessing and a curse, because they gave me everything. I mean, anything I ever wanted, if it was like normal life stuff. But like when I got into dirt bikes, like Dad literally said, like, if you can afford to buy a truck and buy a dirt bike and get yourself to the races at 17, you can be a motocross racer. That's it. Like, that's your dream, I don't care. Like, I'm not giving you money. You're going to figure out how to do it on your own. So, like I said, grew up in a nice house. We had we had clothes on our backs, food in our mouths, all that good stuff. But it was really young where he's like, that's the value of $1, First car, he's like, here's your birthday, because my birthday's in May. And he's like, okay, well, you're going to get, it's a good time to get a car. You're on the road in the summer. It's safe. So here's your $1,000. And then you come up with the rest. If you can find a car for $1,000, I will buy it for you. I'm doing the same thing for your brother. Mm-hmm. That is the only money you're getting towards a vehicle for your whole life. So I was like, $1,000. Oh my God. Found one for $1,800, baby. But yeah. So anyway, like, I guess I attribute it to my parents. But what happened was I actually, like, for 20 years old, and not that I want to talk about like how much money I make or anything, but like I took a cut to go into corrections. Like, it was a pay cut for me to go in. So like at 20 or 21, I was making good money for a person around here. Yeah. So, especially with like barely any college education, and I'm a pretty goofy guy, like whatever. So I think that was when I did that, I was like, the delayed gratification wasn't quite there. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to like ball out a little bit. I'm going to buy like this thing. And then it turned into this. And then, I mean, I still like nice stuff now, but the way I look at it is like, okay, if 33% of take home can cover every toy I have, then I'll buy as many as I want. But 33% needs to cover it. And if it doesn't, if the other, 66.6, if we have to dip into that, then it's not going to happen. And that's kind of how I've done things these past couple of years, and it's worked out really good for me.
Yeah, so you put kind of a budget on the fun.
110%. Dude, we put my girlfriend, Jesus. Fiancé. We just got engaged, by the way, like a week ago. So it's really,
congrats. Thank you. So very new.
Thank you. So
you're good. You're good.
Super fresh. If she listens to this, she can be like, oh my God. But no.
Yeah, that's fine. You can give them a pass. At least a week pass, yeah.
So like we just did this new thing where we put money, like cash money, in an envelope, and that's what we're allowed to spend on groceries, it's rent, but it's going to turn into a mortgage after Friday because we're closing. And that's like how extreme we are with our money when it comes to budgeting. But I love it. I laugh at it, but it also makes you feel really good when you can be that controlled over your own money. So
no, 100%. I think that you're smart about doing that. I mean, starting something up, and again, it depends where you ultimately want to take the company, but you kind of were talking about it before. I think we were about the garbage about, having employees and more customers, but not as much output. And you got to kind of find that fine balance. When that's something I've kind of looked at too, is when am I going to max myself out? Meaning, when am I physically in the day can't do any more business? And that's what I'm working at now, because I think I'm getting close to that ceiling, where I got to, build up other, I think eventually, which is what I've been working for 9 years, is that I'm going to have an overflow of business where I'm hoping that can now start other people to also be successful. But when you talked about kind of like the delayed gratification or putting money back in or trying to reinvest, I think one of the best quotes I ever heard, a buddy of mine said this, is you have to write small checks to cash big ones. And it was just more about reinvesting, and kind of we talked about before, putting in, turning $1,000 into $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, because instead of spending $1,000 now, you waited to spend it on something that you knew was going to pay you back, kind of like whether it be passive income or just an investment standpoint. But I think that's all kind of cool. And what I wanted to ask is, you kind of mentioned your parents, but is that where your work ethic came from, you think?
Yeah, I mean,
you think it's just, or is it just something?
I think my first real job, which was construction. My mom and dad are like hard workers. On Saturdays and Sundays, their house has to be immaculate. Like, mom cleans all the time. Like, they're busybodies, right? But the discipline, like my dad tells me all the time to slow down, because like I am a little extreme like you. Like, I like to just go, push until like at the end of the day, I just sit down and I'm like passed out pretty much on the couch. My first boss would. I'm a 16-year-old kid, never swung a hammer in my life. I walk into this, he goes, we're building a house. Like, day one, like, you're going to learn how to build a house from nothing to all the way done. And I thought it was awesome. Like, and I did. Like, we finished that entire house, beautiful house locally here. And, first week on the job, he was a little easy on me. I'm a 16-year-old kid, he gets it. And, after the first week, I go to take a lunch break. He goes, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm going to grab my sandwich out of my cooler. He goes, you run to that cooler, you grab that sandwich, and you eat it while you walk up on the roof and get ready to lay the shingles. And I'm like, that's kind of a lie. There wasn't shingles on week 2 of the house, but whatever it was.
Yeah.
I'm like, huh? I was like, what do you mean? We're not going to sit down? No, we're not going to sit down. He's like, you lasted a week. He's like, we're going to work now. And that guy was like, this man was a complete animal when it came to work. I've never, since that day, never seen anyone outwork. Just the physical. The guy was a full-time correction officer, ran a full-time construction business, would literally work 16 hours at the jail, come out, work another few hours with us, have to go home and sleep. Workaholic. He's doing excellent now, but I saw that and I see where he is now. This is 10 years later, because I only worked for him for a couple of years in the summers when I was in high school and stuff. And I see where he is now, and I'm like, okay, like, I understand it. Like, I understand why he was so like that. He did it for 15, 20 years, and then he was able to retire at, 45 and just sit back and be done. I get it now. And that's where the work ethic came from. I think that's where a lot of a lot of my drive came from, was I literally saw him, and then I haven't lost touch with him yet. Like, could call him right now and talk to him about stuff, and that's where I was like, okay, you can push more than average people want to push, and you'll get things done faster. Just don't overbear yourself. I think there's a fine line there, and that's where I get into the Gary V thing, is do what makes you happy.
Yeah. So what drives you in the company? Is it the overall message of getting it out there?
To be honest with you, I want to be happy in life. How can I say this? I want to be free to kind of do what I want to do when I want to do it, and not only on a financial level, but if a friend of mine is having an event in a different state, which we just went to in Boston a couple weeks ago, like, I want to be able to go there and not have any guilt or remorse, or have to take paid time off to do it, or unpaid time off, or whatever it is. I just want to have enough to be comfortable and touch as many people as I can as a whole. Is there a number I have in mind to be? Yeah, there is. Do I think when I get there it might change? Yeah. But for me, getting to that freedom level is huge for me. Freedom to just see what you can really do. Because right now, that's why I still have a 9 to 5, because I can take bigger risks and not really have to have as much. It's not as much risk to me because, you know, two businesses going, something to fall back on. I don't want to have something to fall back on, but at the same time, I'm super strategized, so it's weird.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. I mean, I came up. You talked about 14. Again, a super cushy job. I sold ice cream. I worked at an ice cream stand. Like easiest gig in the world.
I don't know, man. I give it to those guys doing that stuff. The girls that are doing that stuff, boy. I mean, they're quick. They're just done.
Yeah, I mean, we got good. You got efficient. But I think what was kind of cool about that. So I started working at 14, and I worked up until I was 20, and then I got into real estate at 20 or 20, turning 21. So I've been in 2 jobs my entire working career. So, you know, you're looking at 15 years now, 16 years of being in the workforce. And when I did the ice cream thing, easy. I mean, the job itself wasn't easy, but what it taught me was responsibility, because most of the time I was the only one there or with one other peer that was my age pretty much. So we were making decisions, we were doing things in a position as a fairly young kid, but it taught me to think well. And I didn't own any part of the company, but I took pride in providing a good product, meaning I tried not to give shitty cones or dish or whatever. And then also you were dealing with people. They had, you know, critiques or they were upset about something. You had to try to manage that. You had to manage, you know, lines. You had to manage just everything. And it gave me an idea of kind of a work ethic. Now, what happened was I also realized that it was a safe job. Obviously, I had no expenses, so anything that came in, my worst expense was gas money. You know, and at the time it was $4 a gallon, so it sucked. But it was just one of those times where I didn't like the idea of going to a job, working 8 hours, and it was middle of the summer. It was usually like probably like 1 to 9 is roughly the day, because that's when ice cream shops are open. And what sucked to be like a day like today, it was nice and sunny. It'd be like a Saturday, and I'm watching like all my friends are coming to get ice cream and leave, and they had jobs too, but they might work at Drew's or they work somewhere else or whatever the case may be. So I was like, I don't like working for 8 hours, doing roughly 2 hours of work, meaning there's a lot of just dead time. You're just waiting for clients to come or customers to come up. You know, you'd fill the machines, you would stock some stuff, and then someone would come up and their entire window time, 2 minutes maybe.
Yep. So
at the end of the day, I'm sitting there throughout the summer getting paid to sit there, and I'm like, this sucks. Because my thing was, why can't I'm willing to work for 8 hours, but I want to be paid for 8 hours. Like if I'm coming here for 8 hours but putting in basically 2 hours of effort, one, I feel like I'm not putting in as much effort as I should be, and two, I'm not being compensated for the amount of work that I'm putting in. So that's why part of it, I got into real estate, because I knew I was going to get paid on my effort, because I knew I just was willing to work, because that's just how I was brought up, and between sports and kind of earning my spot or whatever. And then also I wanted to work on my own time kind of thing, which people that get into real estate, I think they get in thinking like, oh, I'll take all the time I want off. And it's like, it's not easy. Like you got to grind it out. And, you know, I work a lot of hours now, but I can still, like you said, if you have a wedding or if you have a friend event, I can just say, I don't have to talk to anybody and say, can I get the time off? I mean, my only time off is me giving myself the ability to take the time off, just from like me actually just saying, yeah, we can just go or do this thing. But the non-safe part is if I don't sell homes, I don't get paid. So I have nothing to fall back on. So that's part of where my, I guess, kind of like survival instinct comes in a little bit, because there's been times I've really had stressful times with money. I've had some stressful times with just anything. And now I'm kind of getting to the point where I can start to see all that hard work pay off. And I think I talked about this with Ryan at the podcast, and he mentioned it about you, but I want to hear it from you though. So you've been doing this for 6 months. I'm sure there's days where you were just like, what am I doing?
Oh yeah.
And so tell me about that. Like you've had days like that. What has gotten you through those days? How close have you come to just packing it in? The doubts that you've had, and I think a lot of it, just kind of build off of that.
Yeah. So I would say closest we came, honestly was a few weeks ago, before we decided to do. So the hard thing about this is building a brand is a lot different than building a business, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So building a business, if it's brick and mortar, if it's garbage business, if it's regular logistical businesses, you are providing a service 110%. You do the service for the rate's agreed upon up front, it's done. Well, with a brand, when you're starting from zero, and I don't want to take anything away from franchise owners, but when you own a Dunkin' Donuts, like the groundwork's laid, like it's there. Like you put in the hours, you keep up employee morale, you keep the place looking good. It's pretty cut and dry. They give you the cookie cutter building and everything. You got to have a lot of money to invest in it, but it is what it is. So with this, it's like there's been so many issues that people don't see, and I don't want to bring them all up, but things that are out of my control, whether it be dealing with the printer, dealing with the website, just Instagram in general, just figuring out like ad spend, which is we haven't done very much of because I don't like to put money into things I don't know about, and I don't know enough about it. But it's not like every day. Like my garbage is reoccurring monthly income. Like it's always the same. It usually comes in the same time of the month, every week of the month. Like stuff happens. Like with this, it's like really random. Might go 3 weeks without selling a single T-shirt. Then in one day you sell 40. It's just the way it is. Which is why going into this not needing or really wanting to monetize it was good. But the days when it does get tough, how I get through it, I have, obviously my fiance is great. Like that's another reason I wanted to start it was because like I did the garbage completely solo. Like that's 100% rogue. Like I do, like I'm everything there. I'm the guy who answers the phone, the guy who sends out the invoices, the guy who makes the invoices, the guy who picks up the garbage. I'm everything. So I do it all. With this, I wanted to also start something where she could be a part of it, and she's taken the female side of it and does awesome things. And we talk about it all. And I want to give a huge shout out to my friend Micah Patterson. He's been like, between Jess and him, like it's been the glue, right? And another buddy of mine, Anthony Menard, like those guys are good with tech. They're good with photography. I'm learning how to shoot photos, but I'm not good at it. Like you need those people, I feel, especially in 2019, to go anywhere, because there comes a point where the simple portrait mode on an iPhone or the Snapseed filter and stuff, like it just isn't what you want it to look like anymore. That was a huge struggle for me. Like the first 3 months, dude, was like literally all iPhone. Then we had enough money, like we bought a nice Canon camera. Well, we spent X amount on this nice camera, and I'm not a patient. Like I'm patient in the long term, but like when I have something in my hands, like I want to know how to use it. I want to know how it works. So gave that to Jess. She figured out how to use that. I didn't use that, but just struggles like that were little issues where most people would be like, what do you mean that made you mad? But like inefficiency destroys me. Destroys me. Like I don't get mad anymore, at least over anything, because I just know life's too short. Like I don't care. But when something's inefficient, I'm like the Hulk, like so mad about inefficiencies, and we've dealt with a lot of them. So I would say that would be the only thing that made me want to quit as a whole, is when things are inefficient and out of my control. Like, is everything always in your control? Yes, but let's be honest, it's Saturday night and someone ordered something and the screen printer's closed on Monday and they want it on Thursday and they say they're not going to have it till the next Monday. Like that kind of stuff, I can't really control that,
Yeah. No, I think from well, first off, you talked about like kind of a group of people helping you, because that's I mean, we've always had coworkers and things like that but real estate and a lot of the stuff that I've done has been myself, meaning especially when it comes to like my branding of myself as an individual, that's been done by me over 5 years. I mean, I don't have a nice camera yet. That's something I want to invest in. I do most of it through my iPhone. That could be better. Like I talked about, I have a very good mic here.
Yep.
I mean, this podcast equipment wasn't cheap. It wasn't super expensive, but it was an investment. It's probably the same as, a fairly good camera once it's all said and done. And it's one where, I made a decision. I needed this. I have a camera on my phone. The audio would be better here versus the camera. But I think at like you talked about with having other people, like Jordan's here working right now, and I have some other people that have slowly come into the business that are allowing me to leverage more ideas and thoughts and have also people to ping ideas back and forth. And I really find that we're like a team. That's what I call us Team Kavanaugh, but I really think that there's a group of people here that we're trending in the right direction and we're doing it all together. So that the fact that you have, kind of a crew with you is awesome. Mm-hmm. That you can lean on and whether it just be for moral support or, bounce ideas back and forth or just kind of give you encouragement, even when the idea might be 50-50, they at least just sound like they're, on board, and it gives you a little bit of encouragement. Now, like I've seen your photos and stuff. I think they look fine. I mean, granted, I'm looking at kind of thing on Instagram. I mean, the way I look at Instagram is you have, if you take from a full scale, it's kind of like lifting. If you want to take it from a lifting perspective, a new lifter is going to PR more frequently than an experienced, seasoned, lifter. I'm sure when you first started, you're PRing every week, and now, when's the last time you PR'd your lift? You could probably say months or a year, or more. It doesn't mean you haven't grown, but it just means that to get that, like once you get up to that 90% of your max, all of a sudden, to get just a little bit better takes, the 80-20 rule almost. To get that last 20% takes 80% of your effort. So that's what I find, like with photography, like your pictures look to me are like good enough's good enough kind of deal. But at the end of the day, do you want to elevate it? You want to really, and I think your industry is a little different than my industry because you're talking about apparel. You're talking about you want things to look good. You want things to, pop, and you want things, whether it be the men's line or I'm sure it's even more in the female line because girls I find are more critical of the looks and things than guys are. I mean, I look at the shirt and I'm just like, yeah, it's cool design. Yeah, I'll wear it. Like, where I find girls are more concerned by the material and the cut and things like that. So I'm sure you've had some growing pains, or your fiance's had to deal with that if she's kind of overseeing the women's line a little bit. But the camera aspect and you guys being on Instagram obviously Instagram is the big one right now. Facebook is too, but I find from a visual perspective, Instagram is king. Yep. And so tell me about your marketing, and then tell me about how you've been able to spread, chalk barbell from the beginning.
So, well, just getting started. I had a fitness Instagram account for, I don't know, like 2.5 years when I was like big into it. Like when I was actually like, I was going to do a bodybuilding show, but I got my call for the academy and for corrections, and it was going to interfere with that. So I literally just like was building up a good following, was building up like super good engagement and everything. And then it literally like stopped. Like I just stopped posting for like a month because in the academy, like you're in Albany and you can't have your phone. So you're like gone 5 days of the week. You come home, you got to iron your pants, do all your crap. Like you have no time to actually like monitor an Instagram profile. So I literally took like a huge hit there and just like went right down, like lost 1,000 followers. Like it was just like bad. So then I got into powerlifting and grew it up a little bit again. And then I was just like, okay, well, I'm going to market through my personal Instagram because it was bigger than my chalked barbell Instagram at the time. But then it got really like stressful. I was like, okay, I got to figure out something to post on my personal fitness Instagram. I have a regular personal Instagram that's like my life and my snowmobiling and my dirt biking and all that stuff. And then I got a chalked barbell Instagram, which I do every single post on chalked barbell. Like that's me or Jess. Like we write every single caption, we post every single photo, like we edit every single photo. So it was just like a lot. I was like, okay, I'm going to get rid of it and I'm just going to try it with chalked barbell Instagram only. And this was like a month and a half, 2 months into chalked barbell. Gary V, Instagram ads, Facebook ads, da, 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 da. So I threw a little money at it, $10 here, $5 here, nothing crazy. Not expecting a lot out of it. I mean, you get more likes, but it wasn't really like turning into direct website visits. I look more like the website visits than I do the sales. Like the way I look at it, like if I can market to you and you pay attention to what I'm doing, you might not buy today, but you might buy in 5 months. Like I would rather have 100 views and 0 sales than 1 view and 1 sale in a day. Because at least that means people are paying attention. They're getting to the website. And that's how like Instagram was linked to the website. So how we would get the visits is we, link in bio, all the normal stuff that every other brand does. And I'm going to take like full disclosure, I'm just going to say it. If someone's doing something right, follow them. Live Fit. I looked big into Live Fit. Randall Pitch. I've watched a ton of videos on him. He is an amazing CEO. I mean, he's built that company in 6-7 years to astronomical numbers. And I just kind of looked at how they were doing it. How are they taking their pictures? Okay, that's fine. We got a beautiful backdrop right here. Let's go take a picture like that. Literally, like, you guys want to go out to dinner tonight? Nope, we're going to go take some pictures tonight. Like, that's kind of, we try to be more creative, and we were overworking it, and we'd luckily be able to get 7-8 people to a gym to take photos for 2 hours to have, a little bit of dripping content and that kind of stuff and mix it up. And that's it. I mean, there was really nothing crazy. The big marketing scheme that got us on the map per se in this town was, so I gave away $1,000 cash. Actually, Steph's brothers won it. Steph Damaris. Pat and Nick.
Okay.
And her, she was in it.
Oh, this is the video.
We had a video challenge.
That was good.
Video /
Those
picture.
two guys are talented.
Very. Oh my. Yeah, I can't even begin to explain. If I can ever work with them, it'll be a fun time. But so we did this thing, and it was really risky. And Micah and myself and Jess were thinking, like, is $1,000 too much? This and that. And I was just like, you know what? Screw it. Like, I'm not going to give away $100. I'm going to give someone. Yeah, I'm just going to take $1,000 of my money. I'm going to give it to somebody, and it's going to be a competition. And we got like ridiculous amounts of hype built around it. I mean, I think like 200 people participated in it.
And they were all making videos for the brand?
They were either taking a photo in it, they were sharing it, or they were taking a video. But then literally, like, I'm like, man, I don't know who I'm going to pick, this and that. Everyone's doing so good. And then night before, Steph was like, my brother's got it. She's like, they're going to send it over.
The Maris's came and just mic dropped it.
Like, literally just like... Oh my God, I'm gonna like start crying laughing here. Like, it just like comes through. I think Nick, because I was talking to Nick and Pat at the time about like some different marketing things, and they're just like, oh yeah, and by the way, here's our entry. And I just like watched it. I was like, called Mike right away. I was like, it's done. I was like, day one. Like,
it was professional level.
And they're like, by the way, it was on my iPhone 7. I was like, okay, whatever, dude. Like, it's done. So just like that, like. That challenge was, we gave second place $100, which was chosen at random. We gave third place, I think it was like a shirt or something at random, which was cool. It was an awesome challenge. Bunch of local people got involved. It was really aggressive, but it kind of put us on the map per se for like locally. And we got a lot of people that were out of state, which was kind of cool, which was big for us. So we do that marketing wise. Then we kind of lay low and we just do like sales, a bunch of like 15% off, 20% off, 30% off stuff, just on around the holidays and stuff like that. Give people like a reason, to save some money and get your stuff cheaper. And then this last one we did was the Noble shoe giveaway, which Olivia Seymour won that.
Oh, did she?
Yep.
I know Liv very well. Yeah.
Yep. So that was like a totally random, like literally like a randomizer, and that one got even more. That one got, I would say, 3 times the hype that the $1,000 did. I don't know if it was because we had more of a following or just because people like Noble shoes, but I mean, I think natural reach on that was like 20,000 people, and it was insane. Just that one thing was like, okay, I'm going to give something for free to somebody. Instead of spending $120 on Facebook ads, I'm going to give somebody something and ask nothing in return. Mm-hmm. That's like the motto now. Like, I want to do another one. I just want to keep giving back to them. Well, and I think that marketing works. I don't know how you would per se do it with real estate, but in our industry, like, there's a lot of good brands out there that people, I feel like it's so nice to just give someone something. It's a good feeling.
No, I've done stuff like that. I did, I did 1,000. I had 1,000 like giveaway on Facebook when my page reached 1,000, which wasn't that long ago. And I remember doing that. I forgot who won. I forgot what we did on that, but again, it was an insane amount of people. And I think what happened was I did like a mini video talking about it, and I think I talked about like the come up with the company or my page and stuff, and that was like a 4-year growth or more, and that one worked out very well. Same thing. I didn't have 20,000, but I was well into the 5 figures of 10, 15, something like that.
Yep.
And then I also did one around Christmas time. We did the best Christmas tree in the area. Again, kind of playing off of the season, but playing off of, and I'll probably do that again this year. But it was the idea that people could have fun with it. It was something in your home, and I talked about it because it's true. December, I go into a ton of homes and there's always Christmas trees. So it's kind of cool because I see a bunch of different trees. I say, well, who has the best one? Same thing. I did a first, second, third, but the first place person won whatever the prize was. I forgot what it was, but very well received. So, I mean, obviously the idea, a lot of these are simple tactics, but it's kind of fun. I got excited about it because it's kind of cool to see the feedback, and people really get into it. And I think they do it from a position of it's fun for them, and obviously they can win something, but I think they're only going to, acknowledge your company if they have some kind of, they're going to want to do it. Like if you see if they saw giving the shoe away, then they're like, well, I don't want to do the shoe. Or they see your company and like, well, I don't really want the shoe, but whatever, I'll try it because I like the company and I follow them. And I think it's a natural way to do it. The other thing you do, which is what I do with all the shirts and stuff, is I post about it. But for you, it's kind of like, I wouldn't say sponsorship, but it's like that influence marketing. Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming you've done pretty well with that because when I go on your page, there's a lot of people that wear your shirts.
Yeah.
They're either posing with you or they're posing doing a lift, or not posing, but they're doing a lift and you got a photo of them. So, I mean, what's the response been from people that wear the shirt? I mean, what do you do? Like, do you just roll up on somebody, say, here, take a shirt and take a picture?
Actually, no, I don't think I've ever done it like that. Most of the time, I'm trying to think if I've ever done it like that.
Like, what's the normal trend? Like, how do people
really
come in
random.
contact with their shirts, and how do they want to get on your page, or do they take a photo and send it to you, or how's that work?
So Edwin lives in North Carolina, and I'm giving him a shout out because he's really been like with us since the get. Like, I literally was in North Carolina. We flew down there to see Micah because Micah lives in Charlotte. So that's another thing too. Like, my team, like Micah was my best friend in school, and he now is like permanently in Charlotte. So like all of our communications, other than 2 times in the last 6 months, have been over the phone. That's the one thing, like, I wish he was here or I was there so we could collaborate. And then Anthony, who he's been like part-time helping with some photography, lives in Vermont. So my team is really Jess and I in the forefront. It's just her and I at home. So I don't know why I went off on that tangent. Where are we going with that? I'm already forgetting what I was going to say.
No, I said kind of like how do you get the brand out there?
Yeah. So we go down. So I post a story when we get to North Carolina, like Chalked Barbell, North Carolina, we're in Charlotte, whatever. And Edwin DMs me, hey man, looked at your brand, see it's up and coming. That's really cool. Are you guys going to lift while you're down here? I said, yeah. So I literally was at a gym and he was there and I didn't have like any extra shirts on me. So I was like, hey man, like, if you want to order one on the website, I'll like ship it to you for free for like, cause he did like some photos in like it was kind of weird, like in my shirts, but then like I got it back, but whatever, weird story. But so he's been with us still. So he is the only one that actually sends me photos because I'm not physically there, and Micah will try to meet up with him, but everyone else, like,
so both of wait, is that the Vermont guy or you have 2 guys down in?
Nope. So Edwin just wears the shirts for photos because he like believes in the brand. Like, he has nothing to do.
And he's down with Micah.
He's in the same city.
Okay.
As Micah. Like, they never met each other before this brand, which is also cool. Like,
so you just ran into this guy at that gym?
This guy literally DM'd me on Instagram when he saw my story that I was in Charlotte. I'd never met him in my life.
Oh, okay. Cool. Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, never met the guy.
Okay. I thought he was like a high school buddy. Okay. Keep
no,
going.
like never. Like, Micah's a good friend, but
okay.
I was going down there to visit Micah, and then this guy just happened to see a picture that I put up and was like, hey, do you want to lift tomorrow? Just
sweet.
Randomly. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
And then, so then locally, I guess, everyone that's worn the shirts, I mean, a lot of the people actually have bought the shirts, and I'll be like, hey, thank you so much. Like, I'll try to reach out to every single person if I can and be like, hey, thank you so much for buying the shirt. What time, and Jess will vouch for this. Like, we'll be like, what time do you normally go to the gym? We would love to like get a picture of you working in the shirt if you don't mind. And that's like literally how we've done it, and we'll try to like work around their schedule. So sometimes we'll go to the gym like 3 times in the day, only work out once, but like be there after work, before work, whatever we have to do. Yeah, that's how it's been. And then sometimes we threw up, I think twice so far, 3 times. Hey, photo shoot on X night at X location. If you want to go, hit us up in the DM and whatever. And we've had probably 15 or 16 different people participate in that over the last 2 months. So that's been really cool too.
What because I saw one photo. It was, I think you and your fiance, you guys were standing at a table with all your shirts. What was that event? You had a booth or a table set up with
Yep.
a bunch of different color shirts.
Yep. So we've been to a couple events so far. The first one was in Fairhaven, Vermont, which was an event that I competed in. And like Jamie, the owner of the gym, just let us put the booth up for free. We only had 4 shirts at the time. We had 4 different styles of it. Let us put it up. The second one, we actually sponsored the NPC bodybuilding competition in Vermont in April. So with the sponsorship, like, you sponsor them, they give you like media, and they'll like put you on all their banners, and they will allow you a booth at the thing. So that was like an actual booth where we got to go there, sell stuff, like meet with people, talk to people in Vermont, which was really cool. And coming up, we have the North Country CrossFit event, the Summer Throwdown. We're going to be doing that in 2 weeks. And then we have Ryan Gwinup's Summer Beach Tournament.
Oh, yeah.
For the wrestling. We're sponsoring that one too. So,
So what's the feedback like when you go to these events?
I mean,
pretty positive?
The first one was really was super positive from like a standpoint of like, this is awesome. Like, what is this? Like, we were 6 weeks in when we went to the first one. We were 6 weeks a brand. We had like 15 posts on Instagram. You know, we were like tiny. Mm-hmm. And we sold 4 shirts to people we'd never seen in our lives. That was like amazing to me. And there was only 60 people at the event. So that to me, to sell 4 out of 60 people was like, I was so happy. And then we went to the event, NPC bodybuilding thing, same thing. I don't know how many shirts, I didn't even count how many we sold there, but it was a great turnout. People liked the brand, you know, and bodybuilding was a little different for us because bodybuilders wear different things sometimes. Obviously, they're going to be training. They're going to wear something when they're in prep mode. They're going to wear something when they're in like lax mode. And they're going to wear something when they're in training mode.
Their bodies change.
Their bodies change. Exactly. So for us, like, I think that's where like, you know, Gymsharks and the Live Fit kind of like, they more like pertain to that. But we just wanted to be there to be in a different realm. And it worked excellent for us. It was awesome. It was just fun to support them too. That was really cool.
So, I mean, I would assume that's probably... like from a shirt standpoint, if you're going out and spreading the awareness of apparel, you want to be in gyms, you want to be with people that would wear the product. So I think doing stuff like that or doing small events where, you know, you can meet people face to face, get the brand out there, throw shirts out, whatever you got to do. But I think what happens is eventually, because things take time, meaning it doesn't happen overnight as of right now. So like, you know, the second, third, fourth year you go to the bodybuilding competition and you sponsor it, they'll be like, oh, you guys were here last year. You guys were here last year. Every year it goes from 4 shirts to 10 shirts to 15 to 30. Like, and it's usually pretty, I call it the snowball effect. It's pretty exponential growth. Mm-hmm. But I think that's cool. Now, one thing, because you obviously on the table when you did the bodybuilding one, how many styles of shirts do you carry? How many colors, how many designs, things like that?
So, good question, because this is going to change soon. So when we started, what we were doing is I would order about 100 to 130 shirts at a time. I would literally just front the money, which, as you can imagine, is kind of expensive. Mm-hmm. So I was doing it that way, and now I like to try to hold like 60-ish, 70. Moving forward, I'd like to do drops, like design drops. So like we order a certain amount of just like a men's and women's, and they sell. And if they don't sell, they go into stock, because like we have like 8 different styles of between men's and women's stuff, like 8 different designs. And I would like to hone it back a little because it is expensive. Like I learned that really fast. Mm-hmm. Like it's expensive to like, no matter, even if you're, you know, selling good, you got a lot of money sitting on your shelves when you're small. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, at that event, I think we brought like 200 shirts, which was way overkill for what it was. There wasn't even 200 people there, but yeah, you know, I'd rather you got to have one of every size, one of every color. And that's the tough thing. So that's kind of the question I had for you. Do you think you would tone that back a little bit to kind of go like, these are our, you know, you sometimes see like, there's always the classic shirts, meaning companies have the classic and then they'll test one. They'll test like a certain design for an event or a certain color, or all of a sudden we're going to come out with maybe like a red and a blue line around, if you know, 4th of July or Memorial Day to 4th of July kind of thing. Because like when we did the Kavanaugh shirts,
we designed it with, we talked about Aaron, like we had designed the logo, we had designed the idea about the shirt. And my big thing when it came out was I want one shirt. I want one logo. I want one design. I want one shirt. I don't want two. I don't want three. I don't want men's. I don't want women's. I want one shirt. The reason I did that, it's kind of like, I kind of use it like a MacBook. You know, Apple's very popular. They have, if you look at their website, they have like total maybe 20 items, and that's everything. You talk about laptop, all the laptops look the same. They have a little bit, one might be a little bigger, one might be a little smaller, but they're all going to be pretty much the same design, the same look, most likely silver. My thought was our brand, the logo brand that, you know, it's on the shirt and it's up there, the K with the shamrock, came out in December, and my whole thing was nobody knows that logo. Nobody knows. If I get too confusing by having too many different designs and if I made that in different colors and the logo was in different spots, nobody would be able to look and say, oh, that's a Kavanaugh shirt. Now, there's only one Kavanaugh shirt out there. So if you have one, you know everybody else has the same one. So for me, I've been able to simplify it kind of like a less is more mentality. But I'm not in the apparel business. So if that was my main thing, because I'm coming from, it's a supplement to my real estate company. For you, with either different colors, being an apparel line, people need options. So what do you think? I mean, you said you have about 8 designs now. Would you keep 8 designs? Is it more of changing the colors, or is it more of like, hey, I'm going to skip? Because also you have hoodies, tank tops, men's cut, women's cut. Yep. You know, I'm not sure if you're into shorts and things like that, but there's a lot of different clothing styles.
Sure. Yeah. No, not yet. I think what we're going to do is, and I like your approach, and it's funny you say that, like the K with the shamrock is before I met you or knew you, or I don't know why. I just was like, yeah, that must have been the logo forever. Like I kind of just knew, you know? And from a classic tee standpoint, like the T-shirt that I gave you, you know, when I came in, that I think is like the raw.
Is that that one right there?
No, this is the proof of the PR one.
Okay.
Which has been a good run. You know, it's got the flag on it with the wording on the back. This and that was like our first shirts. And we did like a run, like an American flag down the back, you know, a huge American flag with this on the front. Like that was a good run for, was it Veterans Day? Just went by. I don't know.
Memorial Day?
Memorial Day. Duh. Yeah. Okay. So we ran it for that, and like it did good. But I've been doing it now where like I'll take the orders in, I'll send them to the printer, make them as we go. And it's just been really stressful. I'd rather build the brand to where it's so big that I have like an actual legit DTG in my shop, which is really expensive and really down the road. But you can recognize that the hand, you know, the hand is what people have always, they've said, hey, over the last 6 months is the biggest thing. Hey, the handprint with the CB, like they recognize that, like your K, they recognize that. And I think that's what I want to get to. More colors for sure. I'd like to do more color options. We're kind of dull right now. We have one that's like blue and it's kind of bright. But for the men's, they're pretty dull colors. I'd like to give a couple more color options, but stick to the design.
So your main color is the black and white? That's kind of like your first ever shirt was black and white?
I think our first release was black with white ink and then a gray with white ink, like a charcoal gray.
Yep.
Like a heathered charcoal.
So you keep both those options still for the most part? I mean, is that kind of like your fallback in your original or classic design is that T-shirt?
I don't think I would do the colors so much as I would just keep the design simple, because I don't want to let it in on too much, but you can order 10 colors as long as the design and the ink color doesn't change. You know what I mean? I can order 10 colors, 2 of each color, and try them. But if the design changes, then the whole price point changes.
Okay. So if you took that, but 10 different colors of that shirt, you could still get
I did 10 colors of this shirt with this color ink, like 10 different colors, but the same ink, it would be the same as if I did 10 blacks with this ink.
Gotcha. Okay.
But if I change the design at all, if I change the ink color at all, it screws it all up.
Yeah. So you got to stay with like the white or the black, something that would pop out on multiple shirts.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. The shirt industry is different for me. I mean, I'm starting to look at it now from. We've tried a couple different the same design. We've taught a couple different layered textures. We've gone over twice over single. We've done, like thicker and thinner. I remember when I first got the shirt, I was pissed off. I was like, I shouldn't say pissed off. We were a little bit frustrated because we thought it came in a little too plasticky.
Yep.
Meaning I hate shirts that when you wear them, they kind of have like a plastic feel. Like I like kind of like this where it's kind of built into the shirt.
Like ink, yeah.
Yeah, and what happened was after you wash it once, it just softens right up, and they're the most comfortable shirts now. The second run we did was a little thinner. Those were by far the worst shirts, meaning it was same design, same color, everything, but the actual printing or whatever that's called, the embroidery on it was a little thin. I thought it looked a little tacky. It wasn't as full and bright, so we went back to the thicker one. So now I know that's how many swipe whatever the technical term is. But then we're also looking at style of shirts, and we're looking at who can, obviously, like anything, who can make them cheaper, who can do them the quickest, who does the best design, so I don't have like tears on the shirt that I got to cut off with scissors, which I don't know if you run into, but. I mean, it's all these kind of things, and again, I just do it more but it's like testing. You know, the shirts are very new to me. I don't spend a lot of time on them, but that's again, like you said, bread and butter of anything that we have logoed out. That's number one. We have koozies and keychains and hats and all this stuff, but it's always that logo. You know what I mean? I try to keep it simple. So we've talked about it a little bit, but when did you come across Gary V? And for people that don't know, Gary Vaynerchuk, he's big into marketing now and building a business, and he's big now into kind of mindset and personal branding. And I think he's switched over time from. He's definitely big into the personal branding, but I think he's going more into the mindset, do what you love kind of thing, and kind of do it on your own terms, but work to get to it. Don't just expect that it's going to be handed to you. So when did you find out about Gary? And what's kind of your biggest takeaways, and what do you enjoy most about kind of his content and message?
Yeah, about a year ago. So after I started the garbage business, I've just always kind of liked like motivational speaker kind of stuff, but he's more of a strategist. He's very like calculated, and I really grabbed a hold of that. So yeah, about a year ago, started watching his stuff and been hooked ever since. I listen to his podcast every morning in the gym now.
Did you find him on YouTube first? Instagram?
Yes.
YouTube,
yes.
So the funny thing with him, I found out about him in 2011. So it's 9 years ago. So if you kind of know where he's at now, and he's got VaynerMedia, and he's got all this crap. I think he had started VaynerMedia at the time. I don't even know if he was in his old office yet. I mean, this was, going 8 years ago, whatever.
Conference room.
It was wherever
Buddy Media's conference room.
Yeah, was that it? I mean, he wasn't doing much, and I would like to go back and look at the content he was creating at that time, because now it's on a whole nother level. But it's kind of like when you watch someone like lose weight or gain weight, and all of a sudden you see him a couple years later, you're like, holy crap, what happened to you? But if you see him every day, you don't recognize the change as much.
Yep.
I find that's it, because I take in his I probably have taken in his content every day for 8 years.
Wow.
So whether it be Instagram, or podcast or YouTube, same thing. Now, what I take away most of it from him is like the mindset, but it's the idea of like hard work pays off. Kind of put in the work, put in the hard work. If you want to get something, go after it. And I've started to do that a lot with the company from a standpoint of my marketing is very much like him. Jordan may or may not know it. I've mentioned him a bunch of times to her, but she has kind of taken my idea, and you talked about copying. I watch what he does. If you go look at my Instagram account, there's a lot of similarity. I mean, granted, on a much lower budget and design and time standpoint, but I mean, I'm trying to pump out, 3 to 5 things a day, every day. I mean, if you go on my Instagram account, I try to post 3 times a day.
Wow.
I try to. We have a video every day that comes out. We do this podcast. We do a Realty Talk podcast, which is me and Ellie that just discuss real estate for about 15 to 20 minutes, 25 minutes once a week. We've been doing that almost every week. We've missed 2 because of vacations or things like that, or one of us has been out of town. But the whole thing is being consistent and pushing out content. But then also, I think what you talked about is coming from a position of giving versus taking. And I mean, there's probably a lot of stuff that you read up here that I probably have GV or Gary V or words or phrases that you might have picked up by listening to him. But a lot of the mindset stuff and a lot of the approach is geared a lot towards him or from him. And again, he's much smarter than I am and much more intuitive, and I just copy him. You know, I tailor it to real estate, but I copy kind of his approach. So have you taken stuff that he's done and applied it to your business?
Yeah, 100%. It's weird. Like, so I think sometimes when you're in it, it's hard to like pull out and be like, oh, wow, okay, if I look at it from this angle, everything's different. So that's why I actually shrunk my top line to increase my bottom line. Mm-hmm. So, you know, he's all like talking all about, you know, stop buying dumb shit. Don't spend money on this. Don't spend money on that. And like when I actually calculated it up, and I made that move because of how I watched him do things. Mm-hmm. And that was huge for me. And I've never been I think the big thing I like is because I relate to him. Like, I feel like I could have an educated conversation with him because I never was into buying dumb stuff. Like, I might have a fancy truck and I might like expensive toys, but I don't go out and drink. I've worn the same 3 pairs of pants for the last 5 years. I'm not flashy. As you can see how I'm dressed. I'm not a flashy person.
Yeah, you're gonna wear moccasins here, right?
I was gonna wear moccasins. I usually do it. I just got shown it for Facebook because I was down at Ausable Brewing Company the other day with moccasins on. People were like, oh, I can't believe you're wearing them. But whatever. I'm not flashy. I maybe flashy from a toy standpoint, but that's like my passion. Like, that's like my drug. Like, I like adrenaline and I like to have fun and I like speed and all that stuff. But I don't like. I have no intentions on, you know, buying a sports package on my TV for $79.99, or I don't even know what they cost, or buying new shoes. You know, these shoes are 3 years old. You know, I when it comes to that type of material, I have absolutely no interest in buying any of it. And that's where I think when he talks about that, I'm like, wow, that's so real. Like, if people actually like added up the receipts of the dumb shit that they bought every month, probably scare you.
I'm trying to think in my head. The last time I bought something for myself that wasn't business related, it's been a while. Meaning, and again, I really like what I do and I have fun with this. So like the podcast equipment is fun, but it's a direct investment in my business. And that was Jordan. Jordan just took us totally out of our. Jordy, if you screwed those things up. Is that what I think it is on the ground? Make sure it all goes back in. I really need to keep that organized. Oh, you want to see me stressed out? That will stress me out. So, but anything I buy is, a lot of it is, how can it go back into the business? How can it benefit me long term from a business standpoint, from what I want to accomplish in the future? So like, even talking about buying a camera, like, I want to buy a camera purely because I can increase the quality of the content that I put out. Doesn't mean I want to go out for fun and take. No, I have fun doing it, but it's like, it's a part of it is for that. Like, I don't play video games. I've been stuck on the same Game of Thrones episode for 2 years because I don't watch a lot of TV. If I go home at night, I hang out with my kids, and then I'm usually 9 o'clock till whenever I go to bed, I'm working on stuff for the business, whether it's researching, watching YouTube, or Googling different ideas, or how to use an editing software, or how to market something, or how to use ads on Instagram. I'm learning that stuff because it's fun for me, mm-hmm. and because I'm trying to constantly improve. Like, I think I talked about it. It wasn't on Ryan's podcast. It was another Ryan Lee's podcast. And I talked about one of my greatest fears or kind of motivators is lack of potential, meaning I don't want to just settle, and I don't want to look back and say I didn't accomplish everything I could have accomplished because I just didn't put the time or effort into it, where I just rather have hung out and goofed off and did stuff. And I think you're kind of like that, meaning I think that you're trying to always improve, and you're looking towards the future and building on stuff, and not really saying, you know, what can I do now to kind of have fun now? But it's like, what can I build going forward? And whether or not this company really takes off, may not. It may be something that you do for a couple of years and you scrap it. But I think it's going to do, even if you, and I might be totally wrong, this could be a major company, which would be really cool. But if not, it's giving you a hell of a building block and for whatever else you're going to do. So I think that anything you're learning now mean, you talked about the garbage thing. When you're your own boss and you're running your own company, you get more of an education doing that than anything you can learn anywhere else because you have to deal with people. The hardest part of my business is dealing with people.
Yep.
The best part of my business and the worst part of my business. And I'm sure, like for you, you talked a little bit about, the goods and the bads and stuff, but what, actually, this would be a perfect thing. I had this written down. I want you to kind of build off of it, but give us like a normal day in the life of Heath. Like, what do you do? I mean, kind of, or even in a week, because I know you said things change, obviously, with the garbage and stuff, but I know you're doing more than just, going to work, going home, getting food and watching TV.
Yeah. Normal day. Well, Tuesday every week is pretty much the same. It's garbage day. Wake up between 4 and 4:30 in the morning. Truck's already gassed up. I usually try to hook it up the night before, so I'm ready to go. I do it with like a big truck and trailer combo. Roll out around 5. Go to my garbage run, do the whole thing, hit the dump twice, get back to my house around 1:15. As soon as that's done, go through my books real quick, jot down who's paid up before I enter it into QuickBooks later in the night. Usually at that point, take a shower anyway, because it's kind of nasty. Then I'll either hit up the gym. Every other Tuesday, I get my haircut. Every other Tuesday.
It's important, yeah.
And I pick up their garbage, so it kind of works. So I get it when I get the haircut because it's more efficient than me going.
There you go, efficiency. Talk about that, yeah.
So I do that run and get all that done. And then I either, if it's not a week where I get my haircut, then I just go there, grab their garbage, which is not far from where I live, and I go to the gym. And by that time, I'll go, if I go to the gym alone, if it's like 3:30, I'll just go to the gym alone. Jess gets home around the same time I get home after the gym, and we'll eat, and then we'll usually discuss what we're going to do for like chalked barbell, or discuss like what we want to do. Like we really want to get into buying apartments really soon, so we've been plotting that. And yeah, that's a Tuesday. So that's like the day that like stands out. That's like my day off, if you want to say. Normal Taylor rental day. Again, get up 4:30 in the morning, go to the gym in the morning, finish up there. I'm always, to work by 6:45. Usually work at Taylor Rental from, 7 till 4, sometimes 5 o'clock. Depends on if it's summer or winter. I have different hours. Get out of there, do whatever. This week's really busy. Obviously got this podcast tonight. We have Young Professionals on Wednesday, closing on our house on Friday, wedding and CVPH dinner on Saturday. Sunday we'll be working on the house. So it's like, it always changes. So my days always change, but I guess the only constant's the gym and my 9 to 5 right now and the garbage, but we will go like on a whim. Like a couple weeks ago, I got invited to a thing in Boston. So I just was able to, it was a week in advance. So I was able to take a couple of days off. So literally like got done work, woke up the next morning, drove down to Boston, went to an event, came home the next day, went back to work. I don't know. I don't really have a normal day per se because I'm still controlled a lot. My time is still controlled by the company I work for. So I can't say like I can have a routine because I'm on their time, 40 hours a week. I'm on their time. Yeah.
So I think what you just talked about, like you pack a lot in a week, in a day. I mean, like I said, getting up at, I get up fairly early too. I try, it's tough for me to go to the gym, but I, just based on kind of the night before and when I go to bed, but, same thing. If I don't go at 5:30 in the morning, I'm not going. But you talk about you're in the morning till the night, and it sounds like you don't do a lot of like wasted time. You talk about being efficient, but your off time is put back in to make things pay off in the future. So that to me that's kind of, I think, one of the first things when I was talking with Ryan that he mentioned about you is that, he's got this, he got this, and I'm like, and it was like a jumble. Like he just mentioned all these things. I'm like, this kid's got all this stuff going on, but it's kind of cool how you especially at a fairly young age. I mean, you said 25.
Yeah.
I mean, you're so young still that you're trying to get all this and organize it. Even if like I said, you're still running a business, you're running a side business, you're running, you have your main job, so it doesn't leave a lot of extra time. And then on your extra time, obviously you have your fiance and you have family and things like that. And that's kind of what I try to do is all in for work and then try to be all in for family and spend time there. But I think kind of the one thing I've always looked at, I just had this conversation. I was meeting with a friend of mine before this, was the idea that I'm trying to put in a lot of time and effort and energy now to build something for the future, especially because my kids are both very young. And it's kind of one where if I put the time in now, I get to enjoy that time later on with them. I still get to enjoy them now, but I know I'm going to have a lot of really good memories in the future when those kids are, in school and doing that thing where we can hang out a lot more. Like right now, they really have no memory of what's going on. So if I'm out a little bit longer than I hope to be in the future, they don't know it as much. But I know if I don't put the time in now, I don't think I'm going to get what I would like in the future out of it. So I think for you, kind of building this before you really start a family is huge. But I think just the mindset of having it, and I think, like you said, just really wanting something, because to go to the gym at 4:30 or get up at 4:30 or 5 o'clock every day for a 25-year-old is a lot of commitment. Meaning, like right now, I mean, there's kids at your age that on weekends are sleeping in because they're hungover till noon, and they get up and they do whatever, and that's fine. I mean, people can do whatever they want, but it takes a level of dedication and commitment and discipline to be able to get up in the morning and do your runs for the trash, and then go to the gym. Keep that up. Obviously, keep up a good diet, which is tough. I mean, that can be a pretty good like part-time job in itself. Then you have the company. Then you're running. You're running around trying to get stuff printed and taking orders and try to kind of do the hustle of trying to get the name and brand out. And then and I think a lot of that's really cool. You mentioned Wednesday. I think that's a good event for you to go to. I mean, not just that event, but a good group for you to go to. The young professionals. It's something I'm very, very involved in, and a lot of those guys and girls are real good friends of mine now. But when I talked about kind of growing the area from a young standpoint, like people like you that kind of have that drive and vision at this age is awesome. Whether or not you decide to do this, I think a lot of things are going to change for you in life, but I think no matter what you do, it's going to be built off of these ideas, which is cool. I mean, going forward, do you have any kind of like aspirations of what you want to do? Just in general, I mean, it doesn't have to necessarily be the company, but it could be a company or a building block to that.
Yeah. I mean, my dream job is to be my own boss. Mm-hmm. Like I kind of am, but I'm not. And I guess I have very, very high goals set, which is why I haven't, like, I say I wake up at 4:30. Well, it's easy because I go to bed at 9:15 at the same time every single night, whether it's Friday, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, it doesn't matter. Like, if it's not a special family event like a wedding or something that I have, like, literally, and this sounds stupid, but physically planned for mentally to stay up later, mm-hmm. I'm ready to go to bed at 9:15 all the time. Whether I go at 4, whether I go at 7, like on a weekend, like I always do. Mm-hmm. So I want to be, like, I want to know in 1 or 2 days a week that I can outperform my 40-hour day job in 1 or 2 days a week. Then that's when I'm going to know. And then that's when I'm going to grow. And then that's when it's going to be like, okay, hold on, like, balls to the wall, 60 hours a week for me. Mm-hmm. And that's what I want to do. When I get there, is it going to be 6 months from now? Is it going to be 16 years from now? I don't know. But in the end of the day, that's really all I want. I know my number financially to be happy. I know what I'm going to need to live. I don't really want for very much. My girlfriend and I are not very flashy when it comes to houses, or like I always go back to cars. Like, I don't know why, but like being always into racing growing up, cars and is a safe way for me to not be jumping 50-foot jumps anymore and not be hitting corners really wide open. Like, I've broken bones. I've done a lot of stuff. That's really my only flashy thing. Like, if I can have a nice car and a presentable house, I don't need anything else than that. I don't really care. So it's like, why go have to strive to make $1 million when you can be totally happy on this salary paying yourself and just grow as a brand. So that's where, once I can get there, then I've won internally,
Yeah. No, I think that's cool. I think, money, I I don't really have a dollar amount when it comes to money of how much I want to make. I just know that you talked about before, kind of doing like all these like little things and kind of getting, for me, by doing all the little things every day and being consistent, which I've been able to do now for 9 years. I think it's kind of funny because I had this conversation with somebody like, it just seems like you popped the last couple of years. Like you really kind of and I have hit a more exponential growth over the last few years, but it's been on the growth of the first 5 years when nobody had really heard of me besides people, here and there. But now I'm starting to get, people are starting to reach out that I don't know who they are, which I've always wanted, and it makes my life a little easier in the sense that now I have people that want to work with me or are reaching out for advice or whatever the case may be. It takes time to get to that level. But I know that doing all those little things from a monetary standpoint will just take care of itself. Meaning I don't have to force it. And my goal, I don't know. It's kind of one of those things. Like I'm a very visionary kind of person, or I guess visual person. Meaning I can kind of see where I want to go in the future. It's not fully, painted out, but I know roughly the direction I want to go. And I know that it's not going to be like go back to Gary. He wants to buy the Jets. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty big, lofty goal. You're talking he needs billions of dollars to do it, especially by the time he probably needs to buy it. It's going to be worth even more. I don't want to buy a sports team. I don't care about doing that. I part of me, and I've done this or thought about this for a while, is when I talked about leaving the place a better place. I would love to make a ton of money to invest it back into our area. Meaning I don't need millions and millions of dollars. I mean, what am I going to do? I'm not going to I don't even know how to ride most of the probably things you own. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be comfortable on them. There's not a lot of stuff I want to purchase. There's not a lot of stuff that I want to, traveling would be cool. To have experiences would be cool. But at the end of the day, like I said, you don't need as much money as you think to just live comfortably and, or even I would say above and beyond, meaning, you can splurge and go on vacations and do cool things because you have the extra money. But I really think a majority of any kind of wealth that I am able to acquire in my lifetime, I would really want it to come back and affect this area because, I'm still going to have family and friends in the area, whether or not my kids decide to grow up and leave the area and my immediate family's not around the area anymore. I still think it'd be cool to kind of, I grew up in Chazy. I live in Morrisonville. I went to school in Plattsburgh. I work in the area. Like, I've lived around here my entire life, basically because of family, but too, I just have a lot of family and friends. And I think I've always had the mindset, instead of leaving and like taking any type of talent or anything that I could bring to the area and invest it into another area, it's like, why don't I just stay here and invest it back into the area that kind of built me up, which is my kind of mindset on a lot of things. But I think for you too, if you decide to stay and make, Clinton County or North Country your home, I think it's cool if other people are looking to build, whatever. And it's not even like again, I don't need a lot of money. Like I would love to give money to the schools and the hospitals and my old school and invest in infrastructure and invest in housing and invest in anything that you can think of to give people in the area. Like I like doing what I do, but I think it's kind of cool if I can turn that passion into what I want to do to benefit a lot of people. Now it might mean I exponentially work harder than a lot of those people that can benefit, but I think at the end of the day, I feel more satisfied by giving to people than taking, and I think you probably do too. Meaning, I'd rather put a smile on someone's face or improve their life versus saying, "What can you give me?"
Yep.
I just get way more out of it. I think long term, it just the good feeling I get. That's why I like doing houses. Even if a client hates me at the end of the day, at least that's fine. At least I help them accomplish something, even if they don't see it. It's still, I know I was able to do something. And there's times I don't tell clients some of the shit that went down that I kind of went above and beyond to try to save whatever. But at the end of the day, I'm trying always to work for that person because I like coming from a position of helping, which I think kind of sounds, like you said, when you talk about, especially with your fiance and your friends and stuff, it sounds like you're doing a lot of it to help them also, not necessarily, just do it for, just for Heath. It sounds like you're doing it for Heath. And then your overall why about trying to get people, kind of a support group, a community of people that are trying to, your vision or you and Jess's vision is different than you and her and 1,000 other people. Like there's a lot of power to a group of people that are all thinking in the same way. So I think that's cool. I think we've kind of you good on work wise.
Yeah,
I was gonna kind of ask you a couple questions about just anything else in general. I mean, what besides getting too much into like work philosophy, because I could talk about that for hours, but I think people would kind of get dull or bored on that. Like, what else do you do for fun besides? Or are you pretty much just
no?
Business?
I have a lot of fun.
What else do you do? Because you talked about the bikes. Kind of what else do you? The Heath that we might see on your personal page, not the Chalk Barbell page.
Yeah, so dirt bikes up until I actually sold my dirt bike today. Rode it yesterday, sold it today.
Okay, so timely question. Go ahead. Okay.
So yeah, that's gone now. But that's gone because there's a new thing that I want to buy, and I'm building up to it. And Jess and I have pretty much decided it's going to be about an 8-month goal to set in the future. But anyway, so that's gone now. And no, I mean I ride sleds in the winter. I might do it this winter. I might not. We just went where we got engaged was up in the mountains of New Hampshire. We went side by siding, went and rented some side by sides with my brother and his girlfriend. That was really fun. Craft beer guy, any brewery, love them. Love craft breweries. Yeah, I mean, other than that, I like anything that has to do with speed and danger and adrenaline.
So you did. How long were you doing the biking for?
I've been on and off for. I mean, I was really.
Like, were you competitive?
Yeah, like I was really into it. Like I mean, I don't want to say really into it because remember, 17-year-old kid, Ford Ranger, piece of shit dirt bike. Wasn't really competitive, but I thought I was. I raced. We'll say, did I win? No, but I mean, I was like okay, I guess. But I did it from like 15 I rode around my dad's house because we had some property, but I couldn't drive obviously. So I didn't actually hit tracks till I was like 16 and a half. And then I rode up pretty hard until I was like, well, I had the injury and then I got back on the bike and then broke my wrist 2 years later, got back on the bike, still on the bike as of till yesterday. So on and off for like 6-7 years.
So this is all dirt bike?
All dirt bike.
So when you say you sold it yesterday? Today?
On my lunch break today, instead of going to lunch, I sold the dirt bike.
So you've had a dirt bike for 7 years up until today?
Well, I've had 23 different bikes, but yeah. I count them because I think it's fun. I flip stuff on the side too. Like I'll buy something and then I'll clean it up and sell it and make money. So I do a lot of other side hustles that no one knows about. But.
So wait, when you say you sold a dirt bike, does this mean like you sold it to buy a new one?
No, I'm buying a new toy, but it's a totally different.
So you're like out of dirt biking now.
Like I'm like out of it for like now. Like I still got all the gear. I still got all.
So this is not like I'm packing up, I'm finished.
It's not like I'm done forever. Like I do it for fun now.
Oh, okay. So
like the last couple of years have been totally fun.
Oh, I thought like selling your bike was like I'm done. Like I packed up, I retired, I quit.
Oh hell no.
Okay. So I was like, that's kind of odd.
I used to go through 2 or 3 in the summer.
Okay, so this is just selling. This is like changing like a T-shirt. You know,
this is like third person right now. Like Heath gets bored of things, so he needs a lot of change in his life. So I was like, yeah, I'll put it on Craigslist, and if I can sell it for exactly what I bought it for 2 months ago, and I got to ride it for 2 whole months, and I can sell it for exactly what I bought it for, which I did nothing to it, I'm happy, and it sold.
Okay,
so I was like, whatever.
The one thing I want to buy, I have no intention for a dirt bike, but I would love to get a side by side.
Yeah.
I don't need one. I probably don't know how to do anything with it, but it just looks cool, and I want one. It's kind of universal too. You can ride it anywhere.
You can rent one, okay, for like 12 and a half times before you buy one. So
12 and a half times. So yeah. I can rent it 12 times, and then instead of
you could go for 6 years, 2 times a year.
How long am I renting this for, though?
You only want it for 2 hours, man. You aren't going to ride it more than that. Trust me. I rode it for 3 hours. I was like dead. Like I didn't want to ride it anymore.
And that's all. That's it.
And that's me. Like I'm a motorhead. Like I love that shit. In 3 hours, my brother and I were looking at each other like, okay, we got to go back to the truck now. We have an hour left on our rental.
So if you were to own one, how many times would you ride it?
Probably not. Never.
Okay.
Because around here, like the laws are really strict in New York. Like in New Hampshire, you ride down the road, the main road with cars with no helmet on. And you just ride. Like you go trail to road to trail to road. Here, you would get in a lot of trouble unless you did it in Shazy, which is a really small place to ride them. So
I would have rode it there. I mean, kids used to ride dirt bikes all the time. They'd hop over the orchards and they would fly all around. So I never did. I've never rode it. I've rode on a dirt bike, I think once, but it was like not a big deal. Same thing with, I don't even know if I've ever rode a snowmobile. You a snowmobile guy, you said?
Oh, yeah. Jess and I are pretty big into snowmobiling. But like I said, for this next toy, it's another level of toy that I've never had before. So we're really saving up for this toy.
So she's like a motorhead like you too?
Yeah, she actually tore her ACL on a dirt bike when she was younger, and she rides sleds like just as fast as I do. Like, she's pretty badass.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't sure if it was just kind of like a thing that you were into and she got into it, which is cool. Like, that's, it's a good support system. So her
family was like hardcore snowmobiling. Actually, her grandmother owned the snowmobile dealership in Champlain, the Articat dealership at Baychards.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, she's been like into it for as long as I've been into it. She was never really into dirt bikes. I think she like rode her friend's bike and got hurt. I bought her a dirt bike and she wasn't really into it. Mm-hmm. So we just stuck to like the sleds, but she's like a badass on a sled and likes to go fast, and it's cool.
Oh, nice. Yeah, match made in heaven.
That's good.
That's good. Yeah, keeps you keeps straight and narrow. Well, that's cool. You want to just wrap it up there so you can get going?
Yeah.
You got to go to bed in like an hour?
I got like a full hour and 15, and I live 5 minutes away, so I got
Okay, we'll let you go home and get you something to eat. So, Heath, I appreciate you coming on. I think to kind of wrap it up, I think the stuff you're doing is cool. Like I said, even though it's kind of on, like you said, just a very starting phase, I think that's kind of the most exciting. It's stressful, but it's rewarding.
Yep.
So I'm kind of, excited to see where you take the company. And I think just the vision of the company, and that might, like I said, if anything, is a great building block for whatever you do in life. But I think it's really cool what you're doing, especially at a young age. I think you got a great mindset going forward, and obviously it sounds like things are going pretty good, and you're having fun doing it, which is kind of the ultimate goal. So for people that want to get in touch with you, kind of give a plug for anything that you want, how to find you, obviously how to support the company, or what people could do to help you. So take it away.
Yeah, sure. So at Chalked Barbell, that's going to be the Chalked Barbell Instagram. It's also going to be Chalked Barbell on Facebook. I don't do much at all with a sanitation business other than local advertising. We're pretty much good on that. And then just Heath Andre on Facebook, and then it's Heath_Andre03, I think, or Heath Andre _. I don't even know my Instagram name, but Chalked Barbell. You'll find me tagged on there, so it doesn't matter.
Awesome. So, you guys, if you can, like I said, it's a newer company. I'm sure you guys have seen them. If not, check them out. It seems like it's getting a lot of good publicity from you guys, but obviously I've seen people wear the shirts, and I've seen people post on their own accounts and, kind of giving you some love and tagging you in it. So that's cool. So yeah, guys, check him out. He's doing some cool things. Again, like a local entrepreneur hustler that we like I said, I have a soft spot for those people. They like I said, you guys are I guess us, we're hopefully going to make the place a better, or make where we live a better place. So I appreciate you coming on. Guys, go check them out. I'll put all the handles in the show notes, and I think that's it. Anything else you want to add? You good?
That's it, man. Thank you very much.
All right, we're going to head home, eat, go to bed. So for Heath and myself, that is episode 35 of the Gaelan Trombley Show. We're out. Thanks for listening to the Gaelan Trombley Show. If you want to reach me, you can go on Facebook at Gaelan Trombley, on Instagram at Gaelan Trombley, and on YouTube at Gaelan Trombley. The spelling, GaelanTrombley.